9.1, 99.5 FM, the Wake Up Guyana Show. To the Wake Up Guyana show just after 1 p.m. in Guyana. Rain. Rain set cats and dogs this morning. I went to sleep very early, like just after 12 o'clock. That's very early for me. Woke up this morning to the rain. Tried to go back to sleep, but I have lots of work to do, and I wish I could have just taken, when you badly want some sleep. On weekends, it's bad. When you want to sleep a little late on the weekend is when you decide that you got to wake up early. During the week, when you want to take that 5 minutes, it is then that you decide that you have to get up too. So it's a cat situation there. Wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing, we want to say welcome, welcome, welcome once again to the Wake Up Guyana show here. In a very short while, we are going to be joined by Minister of Labor, Joseph Hamilton. And yesterday we would have had representatives, senior officials from the state-owned Guyana Power and Light Inc. in our studio here, telling us about some of the problems that they're facing. Of course, we cannot, take the big stick off of them. They have lots of issues they're admitting, and they're trying to, change things to have an understanding with the public as to some of the problems that they're getting, so they could fix it. But as of now, what we do know is that we have a problem with our cable across the river there. That's the Demerara River. It's a power cable. It's like you have one of those electricity cable around your house. Well, it connects the Kingston to the Vreden Hope power station. And what you would have had happen there, this is one of the couple of occasions or a few occasions that in which it is broken, which raises questions, significant questions, critical questions, shocking questions about when they initially did this project here with connecting the West Demerara to the East Demerara, whether some kind of study would not have been done. And even after you would have had the issue with the cable, whether we could not have done it a little more. But GPL is at the moment they have extra power across the Demerara River there, the West Demerara River area that they can't bring to the Georgetown area, and the Georgetown area is connected to the Barbies. So while at the same time we're not forced to do any, when I say we, GPL is not forced to do any kind of load shedding or giving outages to specific areas because they don't have enough generation or power. It is a touch and go situation, but they're bringing in new couple of engines. They're renting a couple from Macorp within a week or so. They says that they are going to have enough for the Christmas. Let's see what happens. But this is not a situation that I really like, especially around Christmas time. That GPL should have these kind of issues. This is not something that's very very good. In a little while, before I start anything, before I get into the newspaper, I want to take this opportunity. Today is a very, very special day for a very special woman, and she's no other than my wife, Sabrina. Sabrina is celebrating her 40th birthday today. I'm not supposed to say the numbers, but you know, Gildarie, Mount Tier. And it is a very special day, and maybe one of these days I'm going to sit down and tell you a little about what she would have done. When I was in a very dark place, she was there, and then when I came back to Guyana, everybody knows the story. She dropped everything, her career and everything, and came back here. So, you know, wonderful mother, wonderful wife. My dear, happy birthday to you. I love you very much. Do happen. We have a couple of things planned for her, so let's see how that goes. But on behalf of the folks on at Kaieteur Radio, Kaieteur News, and of course myself, and Mr. Glenn Lal, I haven't seen him for the day. Happy birthday to you. You don't have to cook anything today. Don't do any work. But everybody's wishing you all the best. So we are gonna go right ahead into things today because we want to get ready for the minister. We want to get stuff out of the place, and I have some very hard questions for him today when he comes. Minister Joseph Hamilton, Minister of Labour, and he is a cabinet member with the government. And on the Wednesday, December the 2nd, the newspaper of the Kaieteur News, Guyana's largest selling newspaper. This is what the former EPA head says at the top of the page. Strict laws needed to monitor chemicals from the oil sector. So as of now, we 1 year into oil, and we now looking into these things. We got to move very quickly. We got to have our parliamentarians at work. We have to have our critical people at work there. We cannot afford to waste any time. Every time that we keep, screaming for a few dollars or so thereabouts, time is a waste, and we cannot waste any time. We don't waste any time in the newspaper business. Every minute counts for Gildarie. Every minute counts for the media people down there because you have people waiting on you. People are dependent on how you manage your time. So you have to make sure that you finish here, you head straight into the newspaper, you do what you have to do. You have layout people waiting, you have reporters people waiting, you have the printery people waiting, and of course the distribution people. It's a process. If a link is broken, you're in deep trouble there. So we cannot, if you're looking at money and if you're looking to save money, every time that you waste time, it's money. It costs you in your pocket. So we got to get that very clear. So EPA and the others, the technical folks and the government have to understand this as they move forward. And I'm sure that they are aware of some of the pitfalls and some of the places that we should not be. Swiss authorities open corruption probe into builders of Guyana's oil ships, and you know that we have some what you call the FPSOs, which is the floating production and storage offshore facility there. That's a ship basically that has been reconfigured, retrofitted to do drilling of oil. Sorry, not drilling. Do the bringing up the pumping of the oil and the storage, and so these things cost money. And so this company, which would have been handed three contracts to build our FPSOs, and these things doesn't cost 2 cents. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars, according to what we've been told. We have not been given any official figures as yet. It's always there, very dark, very very obscure. But what we do know is that the Swiss authorities are investigating corruption and bribery with regards to this company getting contracts in Switzerland. This is a very, very serious story because Exxon is using these people here. And the fact is, if you are found bribing corruption, and especially in the context of what is happening in Guyana with all those questions, it is incumbent on us. It is important that we as Guyanese, as taxpayers, as stakeholders, as owners for this oil block and the oil operations that we have there, have to ask questions. Are these people above board? Did we pay too much for these FPSOs? These are some of the questions, very important questions. Join Glenn Lal this evening at 7:20 on his show, and he's going to tell you about that. Um, Linden man jail for harboring wanted man. Do not harbor anybody. The police want them, hand them over. You're going to be charged. Crash hospitalized after chopped by neighbor. Sleep-in's Carnival Casino finally gets a license, and this is a story I like. I would have gone to Sleep-in a couple months back. I think it was the first time, second time, and while I was there, it was I think it was the owner Clifton Backus, and he has a couple of other business interests too. And he says, Gildarie took me into the place, and that place was beautifully done. He had all his equipment there, and he says, we can't start it because we haven't been given a license. This government, I think, for 4 months, he would have been waiting, but 6 years, according to the stories that are coming out now. He's finally got it, and it's good for Guyana. You cannot have one. If you, I'm not one that really subscribe to casino, but I do believe that if you give one and the playing field allows you to give the others, so don't hold it back because of political reasons or so on. In this particular case, the man has already built his hotel, and if he is entitled to it, and he is the first in line for that, well, and so by all means, let's see where that goes. If the hotels want to come here, and Hyatt want to build, and the Hilton want to build, and everybody want to build, let them build. They have that right there, and the laws allow it, and so let us see where that goes. But our country needs these investments, and we have lots of investments. What we do not want is that it's been done in a haphazard way, that in so asking for investments, that we don't give away our soul, we don't give away everything to the detriment of our locals. That is the point. If you are doing something, it should benefit the people of Guyana. It should not be to the detriment of us. And understand that you are the owner of this business, you are the stakeholder in this country, you own a piece of the pie, and you must have a say in it, and you could exercise that say in so many different ways, whether it's a letter to the editor, whether it's opening your voice and calling into the radio program here, whether it is doing something with the social media and you're expressing yourself. At the end of the day, we have to pay attention. So in the meantime, it is just 1:15 here today. GPL turns to North America to repair that damaged submarine cable, and that is we are going to continue to pay attention to that. That's because the Chinese, who would have laid that cable a couple of years back, in which there were so many, criticisms about it, the way it was laid, and then after it was cut and so on, and we had to bring them back and spend more money. They can't make it because there's a pandemic and they can't get to travel. And these are the issues that we have to pay attention. How do you cater for a rainy day? Not only GPL, but how do you cater as a people of Guyana for something that if anything goes wrong, that you have a little savings set aside. You don't take all your money and buy a car, buy a fancy house. Start small. Start with a starter's home, 2 bedroom. As you work and get some more money, you add another bedroom. We need to start thinking. I see many people would go to the bank. I made that mistake a couple of years back, and I wanted to build all at once this dream house, and I did do it, but it was so hard on me when I had to pay that mortgage. What you should do as a people, as now start in America, they have it. They would call it. They would say it's a starter's home. If you're now starting as a family, you and your wife, and maybe you have a kid, you would start with something small, and then you move up to your dream home. After you would have worked a couple of years, you cannot start. It's like you were trying to own a Lamborghini or a fancy car at the moment, and you could only afford a Toyota, one of the low ends of it, maybe a $2 million car. But you can't go buy a $10 million car when your salary is only $100,000, right? You got to think smart. Um, so these are some of the issues that are coming out. Oil governance advocate challenge World Bank to prove Guyana's gas project will not end up like Ghana. And so these are other issues that we have to pay attention to very quickly. Let's move on. Let's see what else is happening. Ex-police among 8 in custody for Marcus Bisram robbery. This case seems to be having twist. Marcus never out of the limelight. He's there minding his own business, and the people decide to go rob him. There was a video that came out, and we talked about it. Was it one of the bandits? I can't see a bandit being that very stupid, because there's ways and means how to track those things. The minute that you put something on the internet, there's a way to track it back right to the person who originally put it. There's some footprints that are being left on the internet, and you have a good techie, they could be able to track it down there. But this person stand up in a video with a mask on and a gun, what looks like a gun, says that Marcus is lying. Marcus, I did not steal $5 million from you. It was 800,000. Apparently, if it is indeed true, it looks to me as if this bandit here, his people might have asked him, "Where's the $5 million?" And so he wanted to clear the air, and so the only way he could have done that was taken to the internet. So a bandit, very unusual. Guyana, if anything goes and anything can happen, it will happen in Guyana. The ministry have launched a number, a constant hotline. So if you want to get some help, and this is a very important story, this year has been a very tough year for people in Guyana. And there's so many people aside from outside of pandemic that would have been having some issues, and you could pick up a line now. You could call and you could get some help. And let me read the story very quickly, because it's 655-7233, 655-7233, and this is what it says. The Ministry of Education Health has launched a safe space of 24 hour hotline to provide counseling service to people suffering from mental illness. The initiative is a collaboration between GT&T, PAHO, and PAHO. It aims to provide access support for persons who are unable to have face-to-face interactions. And PAHO donated 3 cell phones. GT&T is going to be facilitating the toll-free number. And if you know, if you have a loved one who's struggling, you can call 655-7233, 655-7233, or if you're familiar with numbers on your telephone there, it's 655-SAFE for help. It's accessible to everyone free of cost. Very important story. When we talk about lifting our standards in Guyana, these are little initiatives that improves our quality of life. And this is something, I like to see when that happens. So, lawyer asks High Court to ignore purported late service of elections petition on Granger. And this is the petition rule case that is currently before the court. And the ruling is set for January 18th. And of course, there was a big hullabaloo. David Granger, as the former president, says would have put in a notice saying that he wants no part of the case. That is because he was filed, or it was served to him a little late, according to the date. You have certain time, and in law, if the procedures are not followed, it could throw out an entire case. In this particular time, they cite for the state, which is acting on behalf of the government, or the People's Progressive Party Civic, is stating by the mere fact that Granger was served late is basis enough for this entire case to be thrown out. While this elections petition case, very important because it's going to talk a lot about the credibility or the basis, about the evidence that the coalition has when it comes to what they would have been claiming would have been fraudulent or flawed elections. They've been using different words from fraud to flawed to all kinds of things, irregular, and all kinds of words that would have been used to describe the elections of 2020. So on January 18th, the Chief Justice acting, Roxanne George, is going to be talking about that. Let me see very quickly. Let me see what else is happening here. I think you could pick up your newspaper here today, and you could read a little about some of the big stories in Kaieteur newspaper of today. In the meantime, your story here, December the 2nd, 2020. So these are some of the big issues. In a very short while, we are going to be joined by the Minister of Labour, Joseph Hamilton, and we are going to be talking to him about our laws. We're going to be talking to him about some of the stuff like NIS pensioners. Your workplace doesn't pay your NIS. I know you would have been asking, and I did promise you to ask the minister to come on. So he's going to be here very shortly. So I'm going to tell you that be very careful on the road today. It is Christmas. People who got money got bargains. I'm not sure how it's going to work out this Christmas. A lot of people would have been complaining how hard it is. A lot of people lost a job. I see it's still a lot of people on the road. What are they doing? Are they trying to get a small hustle? But at the end of the day, this is season of giving. If you have something and you want to give it to the people, be sure that you can help out a little. Even if it's like I always said, a plate of food. You look across to your neighbors. Start within your community. Look at your neighbors. Look at the people through your streets. And see whatever little that you can do, because this we are better people. We are good people in Guyana, and nobody should be complaining to us. Nobody should be complaining and say that we are very selfish people here in Guyana, that we can't share a little. Let's share a little. I did see the Christmas trees across the river. There's one Christmas tree that was lit up, and people were complaining. When you have communities and they don't have a lot of stuff going on, and the people come together and they are talking. They have done something to uplift their lives. Let's don't criticize. Let's support them. Let's encourage them, because that's what we're supposed to do. If you want to build this country, it can't be one man who's just leading the fight. What about you? What about the rest of the people? It starts with you. Charity begins with you. I did see a video. There was a purported robbery. I'm not sure whether it happens in Guyana. Royden, did we had a robbery in Guyana where somebody take a gas bottle and throw it on the It's not in Guyana, I'm being told, but it looks very funny. Um, China, and if you're talking about COVID-19 across the world, this pandemic, China started shipping vaccines across the world. And I did see Colgate, the people who make Colgate, the toothpaste that you brush your teeth with, they also make the mouthwash. And they're saying that it kills bacteria, the coronavirus here. 99.9% of it. I'm gonna have to find that and read it to you, but they have issued a statement. So we are gonna be looking into that in a very short while. But in the meantime, it is just coming on to just about 124, 125. We could probably read some messages from our people. By the way, I have an ongoing appeal by somebody who is really in need, and it's a very strange thing, and then maybe we could have some criticisms on it. But the guy is an amputee, and he just came out of hospital, in and out of hospital, very poor, has a couple of children, and he's there by himself, not really receiving anything. And he says, Gildarie, I'm not asking you for anything, but if you know of anybody who could donate a television to myself, or even if you have one, an extra one, or you want to buy one, maybe a small one for him, he's there. He's somewhere from the Monrepo area, and I have the number. If you guys would call me afterwards, I could be able to give you the number. But I would love to see a good Guyanese, and if there's something that I could probably help with, I could probably do it. I can't buy a television now. It's way above my pay grade right now. But I would love to see somebody who could come on, or a couple people who could come on board, that we could probably help this gentleman. He's an amputee. His legs has been taken off, and he just wants something to continue to listen to the news, to keep himself occupied, because when you're in those positions and you don't have a lot of help coming, it could be a depression thing. It could be a very dark place that you're in. And there's so many others across Guyana who need help, that we want to give help to, that they've been asking. Can't do everything, but sometimes some of these stories would be coming out, and when we see that, you really want to cry, you really want to help, you really want to reach out to that person. So in this particular case, whoever it is that could give some help, I'd really appreciate it. And I know that we have it right within our hearts to play our role in this beautiful country of ours. You are tuned into the Wake Up Guyana show here on Kaieteur Radio. We're coming to you live from our Saffron Street studio here on 99.1 if you're in Escobar and Demerara. In Berbice, it's 99.5 FM. We also coming to you live on Facebook, Kaieteur Radio on Facebook, or on YouTube. You can get us on Kaieteur Radio live stream. So in the meantime, we could get you a couple of those messages until we hit into the home stretch with the minister. Will be here very short while. In a very short while. Good afternoon, Leonard. Big up all together to you and your crew for the wonderful service that you're providing to the Guyanese people. The current traffic situation facing Guyana is a ripple effect of Mr. Burnham's dismantling the train and the public bus system. The government should start rebuilding the rail system for electric trains, along the coast, both east and west, and a new one parallel to the East Bank Road from Georgetown to the airport with stations at strategic villages. I'm sure there's a corridor of land available for this. So when the gas-powered electric plant is completed, operations of the trains can begin immediately. Infrastructure development will create jobs. But an immediate solution would be to start passenger ferries, no vehicles, from the farthest point along the river that people commute from to Stabrook Market, maybe 2 stops along the way. The river is already there. There are projects that will eventually generate income to repay loans used to build them. Thank you very much. And this was we need to think out of the box. And these are very good things. I could recall, we know that along what we call a railway embankment, the older folks would recall that years back. I am too young to remember. Yes, I'm too young to remember, but we could recall that there was some trains, even I think in Linden, Port Kaituma, and so on. In a very short while, we could probably ask Mr. Joseph Hamilton, the Minister of Labour, if he could recall the trains when we start with him. But those were in the days. But we have to start thinking out of the box. So we want to do things differently. One of the worst things that we could do in Guyana is by continuously doing the same thing, the same way every single day and expect to get a different result. You have to do things differently. We have to see a government that is energized. And we have a young minister in the house today, and he's no other than the young minister, Joseph Hamilton. And you know that he's very eloquent. I would have had him here on the on the elections watch early this year when we were fighting during the elections 2020 for those 5 months. It's not a couple months that I would want to go back to, but we're going to take a break right now. I think we're supposed to be taking a break, and then when we come back to you, we are going to be interviewing, having a talk, having a chat, maybe quarrel with the minister a little on a couple of things. I know that he always like a good fight, and so it is just about 1:30, and this is what I have to tell you today. It's a CARICOM insurance time. Follow us on Facebook for special deals on all insurance needs today. CARICOM General Insurance Company Inc. at 121 Regent and Ornock Streets. To better serve you, you can now purchase your insurance online from the comfort of your home. Telephone 225-1787 or 269-0020. We are going to be taking a break right now, and when we come back, we are going to be talking to Minister Joseph Hamilton about a couple of things. One, what do we do with all these employers who refuse to pay their NIS? Well, there's some laws, there's some regulation, there's going to be some tough actions being taken to those employers who believe that they could do whatever they wanted to the people of Guyana and get away with it. There are some rules and regulations. When we're back, we continue with the Wake Up Guyana show here on Kaieteur Radio.
Imagine up to $500,000 cash in your hand. Shop at Singer from now to December 21 and win your share of $2 million. Spend $20,000 or more and be one of 4 winners of $250,000 each. Plus, 2 lucky shoppers will each win $500,000. Get cash in your hand for the Christmas at Singer with 6 months, no interest, and up to 36 months to pay. Singer at home worldwide.
Welcome to the station where the music blasts through, because life is fun. with
99.1 FM.
Yes, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Wake Up Guyana show right here on Kaieteur Radio. And we have in our studio here today at the Kaieteur Radio on Saffron Street, Charles Chung, Minister of Labour, Joseph Hamilton. Now, Labour has taken, let me tell you how important this ministry is. When it comes to employment in Guyana, and this is a layman, Gildarie is talking to you guys right now, right? When you're talking about issues of employment in Guyana and you have issues between you and your employer, and you believe that they have done something to you that maybe you would have been terminated or so, you could go make a complaint to the Ministry of Labor there. And these are very important things. When you're talking about quality of lives, when you're talking about, you want to make sure that for long term, you have long term safety. And there's some big words to use to describe when you are sure of your job that you would have there. But what we do have, especially with oil and gas coming onto board right now, it has raised the level of awareness, making sure that we get a good deal, that our people in Guyana, our workers, are protected right along the way, that the salaries may be good, that they're not being used, they're not being paid differently from others and so on. Of course, there are other issues that has been plaguing us over the years, like, we would have child labor and so on, which is another different department, but the minister will address that in a very short while. So, sir, good day to you and welcome to Kaieteur Radio. I want to say it's the first time we have you here as a minister.
Yes, Leonard, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And so, Minister, I know that you're a very busy man, but I thank you very much for, taking time off, because it's very important. We talk to the people, we have a conversation with them about where we're at and where we'd like to be. And so right away, with some of the big issues that we would have been talking about over the couple months, people have been complaining about NIS. That's a big issue. People have been complaining that people, especially security companies, and I know that you're looking into that area there. People would have been complaining about not being allowed to be part of unions. People would have been talking about a very lax attitude maybe from the side of NIS. We would have had NIS officially, and now that's out of your area, but they would still like you to maybe see if there's any way that your ministry is working through the government to improve the kind of services that NIS would have had there. Maybe we could start off what you inherited when you came in a couple months back.
Well, let me start off by saying this. It was a department, and so my task was to re-establish a labor ministry. And when I got there, we just had 6 technical departments. Mm-hmm. As I speak to you, we're in the process of putting in place administrative departments. The place had no admin. That means no accounts, no HR, no IT department, and that kind. We are now seeking to have those departments established. And so at the level of the technical departments, the deficiencies, you have senior personnel, but under those persons, there were no person to act on if they are ill or for whatever reason they cannot continue. The labor department, you have a chief labor officer, you have no deputy, you have no assistant chief labor officer, occupation safety and health, co-ops, and I can go on and on. And so what we have to do is to train and retrain people and develop their skills. And whilst we're doing all of that, we have to expand the ministry. We have new responsibilities at the level of OSH and labor. You have oil and gas, that is a new responsibility. At the level of OSH, you have the COVID-19 pandemic, which is a health and safety matter. So that's a new responsibility for the occupation health and safety departments. And so all of those things we have been trying to refine them, define them. The Board of Industrial Training, which is the training arm of the ministry, we have sought to expand programs. and do more programs. You know, I have been around the country. It was to engage regional democratic councils to put to them our programs, because my intention is to have in every region at least 2 labor officers and 2 OSH officers, OHS officers, 2 co-op officers. So those are things we continue to do. You know, I have also been engaging the large mining companies because I've inherited several issues that are to be resolved. Just Monday I was at the AGM, or what used to be Guyana Goldfields, and last Wednesday I was at Troy Resources. Monday coming I will go to the manganese company in Port Kaieteur to basically say 2 fundamental things to them. One is that the issue of equal pay for equal job. Any expatriate who comes to this country must be paid the same money, same conditions they must be given, or Guyanese must be given the same conditions and same pay for whatever job they are doing like an expatriate. I will not have expatriates come here and working 5 or 10 times more than a Guyanese doing the same job. I've said this also to the oil companies that I have already engaged. Just earlier this morning, the Schlumberger company was there, and I said the same thing to them. I've said it to ExxonMobil, I've said it to Tolu, and whoever else I will reach, I will have discussions with. One of the things that we have to address is you have the subcontractors are utilizing what they call these like labor exchanges. But you have in the United States whereby they don't employ the person. The persons are employed by these job. I'm trying to find it.
It's a recruitment agency.
Recruitment agency, right. So, yes, so these recruitment agencies, they're the ones who send you to be hired. I saw a contract, and I have summoned that company to speak to them, that suggests that the person could be terminated with 2 days' notice.
Wow.
And that person was terminated. So that company I have asked to, so all of those things are happening. Whilst that is happening, I have to train and retrain, and I have to bring in new people to train because we don't have enough labor officers, we don't have enough OSH officers. As I speak to you, we don't have any labor officers or OHS officers can, at the moment, go on one of these oil rigs and inspect because they were not trained and they don't know what to look for. So it's useless I send them there. So basically, they are just land-based.
So let me ask you a question. I want to think because this is an important thing. We have started production just about a year now, and so we have not been able to do any inspections here.
No, at the level of occupational health and safety, no. At the level of labor, no. We are now attempting to ensure that officers can be trained.
You put a deadline onto this right now?
Yes, to tell you some of the things we have done. We have a joint technical committee formed with AmCham, who has decided to help because of the interaction I had with them. I'm having conversation with the ILO, who has indicated they will give us some help and assistance in that regard. Tomorrow morning I have a virtual meeting with representative of the ILO. And so all of these things are things to be done. My plan is that by next June, I can have all of this in place. So that we can properly scrutinize and properly supervise all and sundry, whether at sea or on land. In the mining industry, as minister, I have already had to issue 5 press releases about 5 deaths in the pits in mining industry and 2 on construction sites. So whilst we pay attention to oil and gas, we pay attention to mining and logging, we also have to pay attention to construction. Because you walk around town here and you see what is happening. 4-story, 5-story, 6-story buildings, and men are up there, no harness, no safety gear. They're walking on 2x4 planks with no safety boots.
Well, let me start here, Minister. Let's talk numbers. When you went into August there and you were sworn in, because one of the big issues, I remember doing a story I can't remember if it was this year or last year, with the number of labor officers that you have, inspectors we call them. I'm not sure how you describe them there. How many did you find that they have there? Because we have 10 administrative
Yeah.
regions.
I think the total amount at the level of Region 4 would be 17, which is inadequate to begin with. In the regions, you have sprinklings. You have about 3 regions that presently they have 1 labor officer. So in a total sense, it is inadequate in all respects. Region 1, 7, 8, 9, that all this mining happen and forestry operation happen. There are no labor officers nor occupation safety and health officers as I speak to you.
How many is a good? We are at a percentage of what? 20% of what we were supposed to be.
Say that again?
Are we
Oh, the
at
amount
about-
of
yeah.
yes, yes, because as I'm saying, if you look at take out region 4, adequately to begin with, I'm just talking about to begin with, you need 2 labor officers in every region. So there's 9 regions by 2. We're talking about 18 persons to be trained, to be assigned. At the same OSH is the same thing. Co-ops is another area. Board of Industrial Training is another area. So my task is to ensure that to begin with, we need more. But I'm saying at least to begin with, the sub-regions can have an officer because the region are set in sub-region 1 and 2. So let us say region 1, I can place one in the first instance at Mabaruma and one at Port Kaituma who can service Port Kaituma and Matthews Ridge. And Madhya, I can place region 8, one at Madhya and one over the mountain at Kaieteur. And region 9, one at Letem, one at Aishalton. So that is the conversation, and that is why I have been going out there to have conversation with regional democratic councils, because they will have to be partners in this, because the people will have to be seated at the regional democratic councils, because labor has no building to place these officers. So in large measure, every region would have average about 9 labor officers, I'm talking about from all the technical divisions, if we're properly to service the regions. In Region 4, I plan to subdivide it. Georgetown, East Coast, East Bank. And you would have also, you will have officers that are specific to those regions. You have several issues in the agricultural belt that are unattended, conditions people work under. Region 2, I hear all kinds of stories and have all kinds of reports about, and you touched on earlier, child labor issues that might exist on coconut plantations in the Pomeroon River that I have to go and investigate. So there are several things that must be done, need to be done, and we have started to do many of those.
Thank you very much. And if you're now joining us, you tune into the Wake Up Guyana show here, Kaieteur Radio, with your host Leonard Gildarie, in with the studio with us today, and we're talking some very serious issues with regards to employment, labor, enforcement, monitoring, and that is Minister of Labor, Joseph Hamilton. Sir, we want to get right down into it, because we have a very serious situation, which is what you're painting there. Just about 20% of what we really need to be in terms of enforcement, the manpower that we need to have a acceptable situation. But I want to ask you, many times on this program here, security employees, guards, what we call security guards, complaining that they've gone to NIS and then they realize that they haven't had any contribution there, and by so doing they have lost it. They probably lost the benefits. Now, I know that you've started engaging some security company. In fact, I did think I saw a press release or 2 with regards to that. I want to ask you directly. You had an engagement with the security companies. What did you find? And what did you say to them?
Well, I say a couple of things to them that the law says to them, so that they understand the issue about leave will pay, the issue about overtime, the issue about working conditions, all of those are conversations. But what I found astonishing, there is this umbrella security organization that I thought by engaging them, I was engaging the security industry. So to speak, that is not so. This umbrella organization represents less than 5% of the security organization.
Wow. How many security companies we have?
I
in Guyana?
would say about 300-400 security companies.
What?
Over 200, I'm sure.
Uh-huh.
Over 200.
This in addition to the private ones and so on.
No, I'm talking about all these. I'm talking about the security companies that hire and do government work in totality around the country. And so they are freelancers, so to speak. I thought that they were captured under this. So when I invited the company, the organization, I thought they were representing security companies. That is not the case. But I plan to have a conference or caucus, whatever you want to call it, in early January with all security service providers. That because it is not efficient that I bring in 200 persons to my office.
That's right. That's right.
I thought I would have I thought by inviting this organization, I would have captured all of them, but that is not so. So I have to have some engagement very early in the new year where I would put all of them to sit down and have this conversation. I have done two things. One, on our Facebook page, I have outlined what the law says about all the issue about working conditions, and I have said to security companies, the next press release, I will name the companies, their principals, their directors, and their managers. Maybe public shame might help.
I kind of like that.
So
we do that here all the time.
yeah. So I have indicated to them what they should be doing. Complaints continue as I travel around the country. Every region, you have this problem with security companies not paying on time and paying people for proper time. And I would say that maybe for a Christmas gift, I will give the security companies and the public a look at upstanding people in society. Maybe they think they are. And I would put the company name out there and the principals, the owners, the operators, the managers. So they're forewarned. I forewarned them a month ago.
But here's a baffling thing, Minister, because this is an issue that was raised some time back. If you are a government contractor, meaning that you tender for government work and you want to do work with government, there's two things that you got to get. A GRA compliance and a NIS compliance. Now, let's talk about those compliance. Now, why are we given jobs and why are we issuing compliance if you're not paying your NIS contributions? I'm not sure what's happening at the NIS thing there, but I think somewhere along the line that maybe there's a disconnect maybe between the ministry and the NIS, because these companies, some of them are being accused that they've been around for years, and then you see 10 years of missing of not being able to make contributions to NIS, but yet they're getting contracts. How are they getting the contracts?
Well, let me say, I can't answer for NIS, but let me make this point. And I have been making it, and I make it today. For whatever reason, people are of the view that the Ministry of Labor can solve NIS problems. We cannot. We have no authority. We have no power. The most we can do, and I do it regularly, is make a call to a senior functionary there to say that Gildarie is being pushed around. He's having a problem. Could you resolve his matter? And the thing is, the matter is resolved in 24 and 48 hours. So what it is suggesting to me is that people are not doing their work. They're not properly supervised. Because if the matter at the level of most senior functionary can be resolved in 24 hours, it means it is a resolvable matter.
But I want to come back. You see, I think the point is, what I understand that what you're saying there. I do that sometimes. I pick up the phone, the GM would answer, and we try to deal with some issues. But could I ask you whether the government, through your ministry, would probably contemplate measures in which if you don't pay your NIS, you deduct it from the people and you don't pay the NIS, that there's some kind of mechanism in the arrangements that allows you to be disbarred, blocked, until you could get yourself regularized.
But Leonard,
I'm asking as a
no,
layman.
you would agree with me. Listen,
Uh-huh.
the NIS, like GRA, they come under their own statutes and laws and regulations. They have what they call inspectors. And properly, if a man has not paid up his dues, his contribution of employees, he should not be given a compliance. The question is
That's
why?
right.
He should not.
Right.
So the law is already there. Secondly, if he fails to comply, there are laws to take him to court in front of the magistrate to deal with those issues. The question is why NIS is not robustly applying the law across the board. It is only NIS can answer that question. But I don't know you need added or new laws. The laws are there. A man has to be compliant. And compliance mean remember, the employer also, he has to add to the employee contribution. I think it's 8-point-something%
Right,
plus
right,
4,
right.
4-point-something%. So he's not just robbing NIS the person's money. He also is robbing NIS because he is not paying what he properly should be paying on the 13 or whatever percent. So it boggles the mind how this person still can get a compliance. The same thing GRA. I'm sure you would have experienced, I have experience, where I'm told I have to go do 7 years backdated returns to GRA to get a compliance.
Right.
That's the point. So the question is, how if a man isn't paying his taxes properly? If he's
How
not
you get a
compliant,
compliance,
how we get a compliance? So it is for NIS and GRA to answer those questions. What I'm saying at the level of labor, we do intervene because we think that we can and we should. But statutorily, legally, we have no mandate in that regard. It's for the NIS to do their work. It is for the NIS to ensure that their officers are doing their work. Like I am attempting to have my officers do their work. You know, I should say this to the public. It is not just the amount of officers I have that they have to be retrained and so. It is where the culture suggests that they are desk-bound officers.
Yeah.
A labor officer is not a desk-bound officer. Occupation safety and health officer or health and safety is not a desk-bound. They should only be at their desk when they're going to write their reports. They should come in every morning, report to their bosses, and be given an assignment that they can go out there and check what is happening in the factories,
That's correct.
what is happening in the fields, what is happening in the construction site. That is their work. It is not desk-bound. So that also I am dealing with to ensure that they understand their role, where they're supposed to be. So those are some of the issues I am dealing with as I speak to you.
A very important set of issues here, and I think the minister has been kind enough. It says, yes, we could take some calls. So very shortly we are going to be headed that. And Minister, just before we head, I think we will be heading to a break in a very short while, and then we come back. We open those lines, and the minister would be taking some of those calls. I want to ask you, how do you deal with the perception that some labor officers are maybe corrupt? Have you read the riot act to them?
Well, let me say this. From day one, I have said to labor officers, I have said to occupation health and safety officers, that my judgment on you starts from the 5th of August. I've heard all kinds of stories, but I have no evidence, so I wouldn't pronounce on them. But I have said any report comes to me and there evidence to prove that what you just mentioned, Leonard, exists, you had a job. That's the end of the matter. Once the facts are there and the evidence are there, because I would not tolerate a officer who has statutory responsibilities colluding with persons who have money to rob and to deny ordinary people their benefits. That is what that is, you know? And I will not. That's the end of your sojourn under my watch at the Ministry of Labor.
I like that word, sojourn. And there's one other thing. We would have been looking at places like Singapore and Malaysia and so on, and where they, as part of the rebuilding process, maybe the country is as old as Guyana when it comes to independence. When they say, you want to come invest or you want to come work with us, train 2 or 3 people with us. Are there any laws right now, anything that you're looking on with regards to local content? I know that the government is very big on that right now. But are there something that you're looking on that would compel foreign investors to ensure that there's not equitable, that the majority that maybe we could have big benefits coming our way?
Well, let me say, presently, as I have said, I have established a joint technical committee with the ministry and ExxonMobil. I have established a joint technical committee with the ministry and AmCham. Just this morning, Slumbo was there, and we sought to also do that. And that is to develop the conversation whereby the fact that they have the experience in the oil and gas sector, how they can facilitate my people to be trained in the sector. I must say to you also graciously, local contractor, Mr. Komal Singh of Kaieteur, he graciously has indicated he will make available his facility to help us to train people in occupation, health and safety, and we're having that conversation with him. So those are some of the methodologies we are utilizing. We have reached out to companies in Trinidad who do training of this sort. Some of them have reached out to me up to yesterday afternoon. I had a long conversation with a company who have an interest in coming to train people to operate at the level of occupation, health and safety in the oil and gas sector. At the level of mining, that discussion also, I'm exploring whether at the major mining companies we can have officers going there, spend 2-3 month stints, understanding the playing field. Right. So those are things that are being worked on as I speak to you.
Thank you very much, dear. And you tuned into the Wake Up Guyana show. It's just about 2 o'clock thereabouts, and it's our insurance company time. And I must tell you, CARICOM Insurance, you could follow them on Facebook for special deals on all insurance needs today. CARICOM General Insurance Company, Inc. at 121 Regent and Arnock Street. To better serve you, you can now purchase your insurance online from the comfort of your home. Telephone 225-1787 or 269-0020. I think we will continue. No breaks. We are going to take a break right now. When we come back, the numbers that you have to call us is 226-7453, 226-7453. The Minister of Labor, Joseph Hamilton, is here in our studio, and he's willing to take calls. Let's make it short so he could accommodate as much call as possible. So we take a break right now. Thank you.
The Guyana Lottery Company is making every effort to protect our valued players and staff from the spread of the coronavirus. We are doing our part with placing signage at our agents countrywide, ensuring regular sanitization of terminals, and recommending that operators use masks at all times. We now require that all players also wear masks, wash their hands for 20 seconds, then dry with paper towels provided before purchasing tickets at our offices. Please observe and stand on the floor markers as you wait your turn. Then speak clearly to the cashier, check and collect your tickets, and depart. To observe a social distancing, only 10 persons at a time will be allowed to enter our offices. Let's all be safe. And remember, a ticket a day could make you rich today.
Spice up your home for Christmas at Singer. Spend $20,000 or more between now and December 21st and be one of 4 winners of a Singer 55-inch Ultra HD television. Singer, at home worldwide.
Imagine up to $500,000 cash in your hand. Shop at Singer from now to December 21 and win your share of $2 million. Spend $20,000 or more and be one of 4 winners of $250,000 each. Plus, 2 lucky shoppers will each win $500,000. Get cash in your hand for the Christmas at Singer. With 6 months, no interest, and up to 36 months to pay. Singer at home worldwide.
Thank you very much and welcome back to the Wake Up Guyana show here on Kaieteur Radio. You're tuned in to 99.1 in Esquebo and Demerara. And if you're in Berbice, it's 99.5. We're coming to you live also on Kaieteur Radio on Facebook or on YouTube. You could get us to Kaieteur Radio live stream. We're speaking to Minister of Labour, Joseph Hamilton. And we're having some very serious discussions when we're talking about the upliftment of this country going forward. One of the things to improve the quality of life is the protection of workers, making sure that we have all the laws and the regulations. And what Minister Joseph Hamilton would have been outlining, painting. He's been painting a picture of a very bleak situation of inheriting when he went in there, and he's saying that we have fixed ourselves a timeline in which to basically get this fixed. And we're talking to several persons about training, about putting more boots on the ground to ensure that there are more inspections as we go forward. Well, as you know, we did promise you, as always, it's not just about talking, but we wanted to set the stage. It's just after 2 o'clock. 226-7453. We are going to be opening the lines right now. We are going to be taking your messages on 62222. Let us talk to the minister to make the call short as possible so we could be able to get the minister answer as many callers as possible that we could get in. Do we have a caller in line? Good afternoon, caller. You on the air. Go right ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Gildarie.
Good afternoon, sir.
There are some things I would like to let the minister know.
Go ahead. We hearing.
The sugar industry don't have a law that when people work in the field, people work in the field and they fall and dead, they get nothing. They may get about $20,000. There's no law for that. The minister should ensure that the law is there at the sugar industry, that if a person fall and die, they must be compensated for their life. That is one. Two, seeing that the minister is there, he should get on to the president and have a little talk with him that this NIS should be added. I'm going to tell you why. When people die, the book, they must come for the book. So they got 4-page, 3-page, 5-page. They take the book and then go away. You don't know what they're doing in the book because the money print there. They're supposed to walk with a cancel stamp and cancel every page at the premises of the person. A lot of fraud is going on with that, People who got 600 and 400 contribution, I know for a fact for a man, when he got and say you don't drive money, the guy said, what? He said, yes, you don't drive money, and he couldn't do anything. Now the labor officer, when he got put out, they must not go and meet the managers. In a sense, they can talk to the manager, and they are the labor officer. They must go and meet the people and ask the people about the safety, about what and what. Because when they talk to the manager, they finish and they're gone and they left the people on the strand. And the minister is doing a good work, and I appreciate that, and I can say that let you have a word with the president and add it NIS. Because look, I come out, and this is 4 years, around 5 years. It's 243 contribution more. They were fine, but so long that they just put in it for me for 50-50. I just sick and tired of these people.
All right.
Minister, get good people to good work, because I like the PPP government. They're showing progress, and I thank them. That is all.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a pleasant rest of the day. I don't know if the minister want to
Yes,
probably
let
respond.
me quickly speak to two issues rather, legislation. Presently, I can tell you we are working on a legislative agenda because many of the labor laws need to be upgraded, amended, and new laws to deal with the new circumstances. I can tell you we are at the stage where all the departments, they have collated all the recommendations, and that should be at the desk of the permanent secretary, who will write the Attorney General chambers to seek an intervention, to seek a discussion, so that we can put before the AG chambers to be advised about some of the recommendations we have. Some of them, we will increase penalties. We will have stiffer penalties. One of the ideas I have is to whether labor officers can go back to court, like lawyers do, to seek contempt. Contempt of court against a person who failed to follow the law, or whatever instruction the court would have done. I am attempting to see if perhaps we can have a legislation fashioned in that way, whereby a labor officer is empowered to go back to the court to say, listen, this man has not lived up to the expectation and what he promised the court to do, this employer. Could we confine him because for contempt? So that is one issue. The second issue the gentleman raised is the issue of people who might fall down and there is no compensation. I don't know, but I just came out of AGM, as I said earlier. They have an insurance plan. Maybe if Gaisuko don't have one, that might be a remedy, a life insurance plan, the same way how you have also health insurance plan. And where the company and the worker, they contribute to that. So in the event a man, for whatever reason, collapses, his family they are not left as destitute. So that is a remedy to deal with the issue of after work, death of a man.
Insurance, very important.
Insurance issue.
Thank you very much, Zir. And let's see, there's some comments here coming to our WhatsApp 6222222. Good afternoon, my brother. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I want to ask a couple questions. What is the government doing about human trafficking, and let the Guyanese people know not to make fun of people who cannot speak properly or anyone who is sick? Because the other day I misspelled a couple of words, some people were making fun of me. It's not nice. Leonard, good afternoon, my brother. I want to ask you, the minister, why NIS is not going after every employer in the country, and those people are not working you like dog, and they pay nothing or little, and they're making about 80%. Well, the minister says the NIS is a separate entity, and they would have to do a little more, maybe with the laws and enforcement there. But maybe, minister, if you want to jump in there, I'm not sure if anything you may want to talk about there.
No, quickly, the issue about human trafficking, I can tell you the Ministry of Labor is a member of the Trafficking in Person Task Force, established by the government, coordinated by the Ministry of Home Affairs. And therefore, we have our input there. Importantly, one of the issues is child labor that you raised earlier, because child labor also is a spin-off, or can be a spin-off, from human trafficking. And therefore, we have a responsibility. And before I came here, the United States Embassy just sent over documents for us to look at. And, they do their report every March, I think, of the other year. So they are seeking to find out from us what have we done over the period to deal with the issue of child labor. So for us, we are engaged, as I said, at the level of trafficking in person. For us, I'm saying that I need more bodies to go into the places where I have reports that exist. I just mentioned a specific location not so long ago. So the TIP is not jurisdictionally the responsibility of the Ministry of Labor, but a subset of the TIP, the Ministry of Labor, we have jurisdiction, that is the child labor issue, that is part and parcel of trafficking in person, and we are paying attention to that.
Thank you very much, dear Minister Joseph Hamilton. and he's the Minister of Labor, and we're talking about the very critical issues of safety for workers, protection of workers. So I want to ask you something. Does the ministry deal with work permits and otherwise, or that's
No, not at all. The Ministry of Home Affairs.
Home Affairs deal with that? Okay, we probably have to get them because there's another issue there. Good afternoon, sir. With all due respect, I believe most security companies are getting away with murder by treating workers really wrong, and the ministry is not doing anything. Correction getting. Some cut your pay if you report sick for 1 day in the month and saying that the person have to produce a 1 day sick paper. Is that legal?
That is, the law says it is after 3 days, then you must supply sick from a doctor.
Right.
72. You have 72 hours.
Right.
Before
and
you're asked.
if they demand that, that would be illegal.
Yes, 1 day is not 24 hours. I'm clear. The rule said after three days.
Thank you very much. You heard it from the horse's mouth there. Do we happen to have another call in line? Good afternoon, caller. Your name. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I would like Mr.
Joseph
Hamilton
Hamilton
to shed some light on gratuity. What laws are there in place in the Labor Department that deals with gratuity of worker? Someone who would have worked for quite a number of years and have retired. What gratuity is there for him? What law is there to ensure that he has his gratuity at the end of that long service? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And before you answer that question, if I work 15 years with Kaieteur News, am I entitled to anything? Go ahead.
Well, there are a couple of things. One, in some instances, it would have to do with your contractual engagement. I think there's a permutation how you calculate issue about gratuity, but it starts with the engagement in the first instance. At the level of the government and the public sector, the public service rules speak definitively to those matters. But in the private sector, I would want to believe that you have different private sector organized companies fashioning with the employer or with the employees issues about gratuity and pension and those kinds of issues. So one is I couldn't properly answer the caller because I'm unsure
whether it's
private sector or public sector.
Right.
The ones in the public sector, it is defined by the public service rules, but in private sector, you might have different permutations.
Good day. Is it compulsory for private business to submit NIS for their employees?
Well, the point is, the law says every week or every month you have people working with you. You deduct from their salary 8 point whatever percent, and then you, the employer, you match 4 point something percent to that. And that is what you send to the NIS for every employer as a contribution for the month or for the week. So yes, it is compulsory. The law makes it mandatory. There's no flexibility in that regard of an employer not to pay NIS. Any employer who refuses to pay NIS for whatever reason they can conjure up is breaking the law. Plain and simple.
Correct. That's correct. Yes, and you have to do that. It's obligatory. But let me tell you this: you're tuned into the Wake Up Guyana show here on Kaieteur Radio, and somebody's asking the question, Minister. Could you kindly shed some light if a public servant will be getting any bonus for the holiday as per norm? You're truly a public servant, 18 years and working.
So, the point is, I know the government has already made available bonus to some public servants. I think we have dealt with the disciplined forces. I think we have dealt already with the nurses, with the people in the medical fraternity. And just to say to the caller, we are just in the 2nd or 3rd of December. All things are possible.
Thank you very much, dear. I think he's made it very, very. All things are possible. So he hasn't ruled it out, but he's spoken like a true politician today. Hi, good afternoon. I'm a baby mother. Me and my husband, COVID results came back negative after saying my baby is positive. How did he get it? Because the baby never went home. Now they're saying the baby have to do back a test on a dead baby. I think I know this case. Who's already punishing in the ice since last week, Monday, 23rd of November. They have to decide if they give us the baby or they want to cremate him. I just don't understand these people. I'm not sure how the minister could handle this. Maybe you want to take a shot at it. If not, that's okay.
Well, the only thing I would say, I would defer to the authorities.
Yes.
Who firstly have the information and who can properly speak to the matter.
I would ask that person to get on to me immediately after the show. Maybe I could probably get on to the Ministry of Health and find out what exactly is this issue. I know the mom was trying to get hold of me and we lost it. But please do get on to me and let me see if I could probably give you some help there. Good afternoon, Mr. Gildarie. I hear the minister talk about there are not enough officials within the labor ministry and the need for recruitment for these positions. If someone is interested in these employment opportunities, where can they go and how can they apply?
Well, the first thing, you have to bring an application and a CV to the Ministry of Labor that is located on Brickdam and make it available to the Permanent Secretary. For several months, it is after several months we had a Permanent Secretary assigned, and now we have a Permanent Secretary, so that letter can be sent to the Permanent Secretary with a CV attached of the interest of the person.
Thank you very much. It's just like about 2:15, 2:20 thereabouts, and we do we have a call in line? Good afternoon, caller, you on the air. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Go right ahead.
Yes. What I have for the minister here is...
Could you speak up a little? We could barely hear you.
Yes, sir. What I have for the minister, a couple of years ago I was working at a private farm on the waterfront. But I would like to know, when you're paying your NIS in these private companies, right? Some of them don't pay these monies, because I could remember a time I was working on the waterfront. I don't know if I can call the name. Could I call the name?
You could call it, yes.
Okay. Munishwars Limited, there's one. Right? When you work there, and if you miss out your money, is like NIS and thing, and you go into NIS, by the time you meet back to the company don't know that you went to NIS to find out concerning your NIS. How they know? Right? And a lot of people where I know went and do these things, and when you make complaints, they fire you. Right? If you work a couple of years and they see like you're going to
were you fired? Were you fired? Were you fired? You know of anybody that was fired?
I know a lot of people who was fired, right?
And did they make any complaints to the Ministry of Labor?
No, but when they go there and they make complaints, the complaints them go under the table, right? It's because the people keep running, and then the complaints go under the table, and the matter finished because they get paid off.
No, that's a supposition. We don't know that.
You understand?
But, all right.
No, I'm enlightening these things now, and I'm sure they're listening, right? I'm trying to make better for other workers who go there now, because I know right now they put workers them on contracts, right? That's what it is do. But they don't want the workers them to have anything where labor is concerned, right? Anything if you say you're going to any labor department and these kind of things, and they get to find out these supervisors them, then it's get knocked off. And there is only one company. They got other private companies like that.
Could you get a couple of people that you...
And all these companies
could you get a couple of people that you know that probably would have been your colleagues, and maybe if they could do a delegation, I would probably ask the minister to accommodate?
Mr. Gildarie, some of these people them now, these people them get, after they get knocked off and they get frustrated and things, and then worry for go nowhere else. The people hunting, looking for jobs other places because of these things.
Right.
But I just enlightening these things to let the minister understand that these company needs to be investigated and find out how the workers them, are getting, because these places are dangerous places. It got unforeseen occurrences as always happen.
Right.
Big equipment and all kind of thing could kill people, and things I know that happen around these places them and people get off. You know, these are things need to investigate, sir. Right?
All right.
Anyhow, Mr. Gildarie, thank you. You're having a nice program. But that fellow was called on the West Coast. He could give other people a chance because sure there got a lot of people got a lot of problem in this country need to call in so they could make the comments short. The guy on the West Coast and the guy lady that's called from Bobby. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. And you all have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Leonard, let me say this though. The caller, he has said a lot of things.
Yes.
You know, I reach people daily by the dozens who say a lot of things. Some morning I wake up, maybe 2 dozen messages on my messenger. Persons, their families, colleagues say a lot of things. WhatsApp, people who got my number, I don't know how they got it. The question always arises. The caller says, investigate. An investigation can only be done via an official report. Because if it will reach conclusion and you have to go to the court, you have to be able to give evidence. You have to be able to have witnesses presented by our legal team. And that is one of the issues. People say a lot of things. But when you say to them, come make your report official, I am saying to you, 80% of the persons, working or not working, they refuse to start the ball rolling whilst they continue to have the conversation about all this. I'm not denying that all of these things might not be happening. But the only way we can investigate it is via an official report or complaint to the Ministry of Labor, to the Labor Department or the Occupation Health and Safety Department. What we are attempting to do, though, outside of that, and I'm attempting to say to labor officers, even without report, as on a supervisory standpoint, you should visit places. So don't wait for reports. I have had in some minor companies in oil and gas where I sent occupation health and safety officers to review their operations based on reports I have gotten, without a formal report, so to speak. So we have started to move in that direction. Second, and importantly, let me say this. When we discuss labor relations and occupation health and safety issues, the nation always pays specific attention to private sector. I have said to my officers, the same way how you police private sector, you must police public sector. And I have had engagements in different regions with public sector entities. And some of these places, when we visited, were death traps for workers as regards occupation, health and safety. Some of these places were run by tyrants as regards the issue of labor relations. So we have to deal with this matter holistically. We can't have sacred cows. And that is my position on the matter. We must deal with both private sector and public sector entities, wherever workers are. The issue about labor relations and following the labor law must be supervised, both at the private sector and the public sector. So you will hear, and I'm sure you are acquainted with, all the conversation on these matters revolve around what the private sector is doing.
That's correct. I didn't even think about the public sector, but you're right, because you go to some places, it says, wow, the kind of conditions. But I want to ask you, sir, because you did use the word or the term sacred cows, and I was about to ask you a question that I'm obligated, sitting where I'm sitting, to ask you this question. Could we, going forward, as a ministry, as a government that is responsible, commit to the people or say to the people that we don't have any sacred cows?
Well, let me just say to you, talk is cheap. I give you action that I have already done. I went to Region 8. I reviewed the operations of the power and company there.
Yes, sir.
And we recommended remedies They have, I would say, compliments to them. They have dealt with prescription that we offered. Secondly, I went to Region 9. I visited public sector entities. I went to Region 7. I visited a hospital. I went to Region... So the point I'm making to you is that in my engagements, the same way how I'm paying attention to private sector, I'm paying attention to public sector. Region 7, I went to the Gold Board to review their operations there. And I have made my reports to the official channels about what we found. And we have prescribed remedies. Let me say this also. The law says any company, institution, entity, organization that has on its staff more than 19 employees, you must have a health and safety committee. As I speak to you, 99.9% of companies are in default of that law. And as I speak to people, I put that before both public sector and private sector. The law says, let me repeat, once you have more than 19 employees, you must have a health and safety committee on the workplace to review health and safety protocols, and of which we will supervise. We have set to places. We will help you to create those committees for those that don't have. And as I speak to you, both public sector and private sector is in default as I speak to you. You know, when I go there and I talk to some senior people, it's like I'm speaking foreign language or I'm saying new things.
So what's it that we need? We need to do more training or something of them?
Yes, training is one issue. Interaction so that people recognize what the law is. But because the deficiency has been the focus of labor just only on private sector.
Right.
And therefore they have neglected to deal with issues of the same sort in the public sector. I am saying that we must deal with it equitably. The same way how the officer would want to go up the road to come to Kaieteur to deal with labor relations, he must go to GGMC.
That's correct.
To examine. That is the point, and that is what I am saying to the officers, both labor and occupational health and safety officers.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, sir. All the way from Kaieteur. There's a supermarket in number 79 Village who's working their workers from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., sometimes 10 in the night. And no meal allowance, 6 days a week. The name of the supermarket is The Price is Right. Could the minister do something or anything about that? Thank you. I think the owner should value human labor. We don't hide anything on this show. Whatever comes out, comes out. If you find something on Gildarie, you can dig it up, bring it out too.
And let me say this for the caller. In Upper Quarantine, we have a labor officer situated at number 53 Village. The same report you're giving here, go to him and give him the report. And he's mandated to go and investigate. So where we have labor officers presently, that should be their job.
And I do thank you for that. It is time for a break, but let me tell you very, very clearly. The minister is just echoing what we would have been saying all along on several weeks now. The power of the people, it lies right in your hands, right with you. And so if you can't just don't depend on the government to do what they have to do. You have to start to. You see something happening, raise it with the authorities. Do not wait until something blow up and says, yes, I've been telling them all the time. But the minister is saying very clearly, you know, we cannot act until we have an official report that is there, and then we take it from there to its conclusion. We take a break right now, and when we come back, the minister has been very kind to take some calls. We will continue doing that. So stand by, do not touch that dial.
The Guyana Lottery Company is making every effort to protect our valued players and staff from the spread of the coronavirus. We are doing our part with placing signage at our agents countrywide, ensuring regular sanitization of terminals, and recommending that operators use masks at all times. We now require that all players also wear masks, wash their hands for 20 seconds, then dry with paper towels provided before purchasing tickets at our offices. Please observe and stand on the floor markers as you wait your turn. Then speak clearly to the cashier, check and collect your tickets, and depart. To observe a social distancing, only 10 persons at a time will be allowed to enter our offices. Let's all be safe. And remember, a ticket a day could make you rich today.
Imagine up to $500,000 cash in your hand. Shop at Singer from now to December 21 and win your share of $2 million. Spend $20,000 or more and be one of 4 winners of $250,000 each. Plus, 2 lucky shoppers will each win $500,000. Get cash in your hand for the Christmas at Singer. With 6 months, no interest, and up to 36 months to pay. Singer at home worldwide.
Nice up your home for Christmas at Singer. Spend $20,000 or more between now and December 21st and be one of 4 winners of a Singer 55-inch Ultra HD television. Singer at home worldwide.
Yes, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Wake Up Guyana show right here on Kaieteur Radio. I'm your host, Leonard Gildarie, and with us today, answering questions, being grilled. Well, you know, he's very good fit. He's always up for a good fight. Minister of Labour, Joseph Hamilton. And we're talking all things when it comes to protection of our workers. Very important topic when it comes to moving this country through the oil and gas sector in its development over the few coming years. The issue of protection of workers and their security and so on is going to be a very important topic. And so let me see some questions coming from our people. Good day. I'm complaining about Jupat's bar Monday. The police closed it down and the owner now opened up back the bar. I did raise this matter with Mr. Harper, who was here a few days back, and he said he's going to look into it. I'm going to raise it back with him. But if you happen to know Mr. Harper, please do get on to him. He's there at the G3 building on Diamond Public Road, the access road that is in New Diamond scheme. Do we have a call in line? Good afternoon, caller, you're here. Missed that call there. Let's see what happened. My daughter is working in a Chinese store. She asked her job letter and they said I can't give it to her. I don't know how to answer that one.
Well, the point is, I don't know. No law compels
an employer.
They do it as a good employer.
Right. Uh-huh.
But let me see, as the issue of a Chinese stores come up, we have already, Leonard, recognizing the fact that we have to grapple with migrants.
Right.
Indicated that we will train labor officers and OSH officers in foreign languages. As I speak to you, we have already started training Portuguese for 24 officers. I will ensure Spanish also, and I will do Mandarin training, because we have to bring to an end this deficit whereby a foreigner get away by telling you he can't speak English. So I'm attempting to ensure that by next year, if you can't speak English, my officer will engage you in Mandarin or Spanish or Portuguese. So that is something we are doing at the level of the Ministry of Labor, training and retraining of staff. And there are all kinds of issues, that exist in that environment that we have to examine, in the what they call the retail environment.
Right.
There are all kinds of issues that we have to examine, but as I said to you, all of those things are work in progress. Starting point is bodies trained to do the work.
Right. Let me ask you a question. Would this fall under your thing? Have we started looking at the labor environment in terms of, we're looking very carefully, like on the Grove. I heard a story last evening. The Grove Diamond area there.
Mm-hmm.
At the back on the river dam, the Venezuelans are there. They're squatting on the river dam in itself, what we call the sea dam. But the people behind them, who are the Guyanese living there, they've started a big business. Some of them have been, they're giving them current, what we know electricity. But there's another thing. A lot of them making money for charging phones for the people. At the end of the month, you come give them a lump sum and that's it. But I want to ask you, because going forward with this country, sir, our labor environment is going to be changed somewhat there. I'm not sure. It's not so much work permit, but in terms of readying our people, in terms of protection and so on. Is this something that your ministry is looking at, or is it like general government policy?
No. I tell you, in the ministry, we have a department that's called the Board of Industrial Training, that we are retooling and remodeling, expanding skill sets. I can tell you next year we will be introducing ICT programs at the level of the Board of Industrial Training, training for small engine repairs, training for technicians to repair solar panels. These are training we do in conjunction with communities and with organizations. I can tell you also that just 2 days ago, I had a virtual meeting with the Guyana Manufacturing and Service Association where we are discussing how we can together collaborate to develop skill sets that are necessary within Guyana and more especially in specific communities. Because the needs of industrial technical people in Linden might be different to Region 6. And we are discussing the importance of a collaboration with all training institutions that do technical training. I think, in my view, the problem is we have too many silo training facilities. And we have discussed preliminarily at the level of with labor and the Guyana that perhaps next year we have a big conference where all technical training centers, Gaisuko, GTI, whichever one, we come and we sit down and we map a strategy as regards training and skill sets. Because presently I think we're expending a lot of money. I don't think we're getting the output from the money.
Right.
Because I think we're running over each other, we're duplicating, and therefore you might have more of one skill set than you need, when another skill set you're training to fail people, you're failing to train people adequately. So early next year we'll have this conference to discuss this matter.
Thank you very much. What I really wanted to get, I'm familiar with two of the procedures in some of the small islands. Like, for example, St. Martin, where I used to live a couple of years back. You can't go in there and just apply for work permit there. There is the local workforce, and they're saying that you have to justify that you can't find it within the local workforce before you issue a work permit. So I'm asking you, what I really want to get from you, whether that's something that the government may be looking at, or that's something for the Ministry of Home Affairs, which we'd have to bring them on.
No. The Ministry of Labor has a department we call a statistical department.
Yes.
Whose role and responsibilities should be review and examination of the labor force and the labor market, so that at any given time we can be advised how many unemployed persons we have, how many underemployed persons we have, how many people by percentage in one field or endeavor. That we have to, I've been speaking about OSH and labor, that department also. We have to train people to do that work. In the regions, we also have to assign regional officers, so that nationally we should have the data, but regionally also we should have the data, so we are clear as to which region is lacking.
That's correct.
In what. So yes, we have that responsibility, but like all the other departments that have suffered over the last 5 years, that department also has suffered, and we also have to do now training and bringing in people to fill vacancies that exist. I think, if I remember, that department just has 5 persons as I speak to you, when I think it should have 14. So 9 staff is missing from this department.
So what I was really trying to get at, so nationally, there is possibly going to be a national policy with regards to all the ministry, with the Ministry of Home Affairs and Labor and so on, to say, look, we can't be issue any work permit for construction workers because I know that's not your department, that's for the Ministry of Home Affairs, because there's a big number that we have here, people who are here working also. So you can't come to the country and do that. That is in a way of protecting the labor thing. So I'm asking, that is what really I wanted to
Yes,
get
well,
at.
Leonard, the point I'm raising to you, that we can't put the cart before the horse.
Right.
We can't make a decision without blindly. I'm saying to you that we have to have the data.
Right.
And that is why I'm saying that we need to adequately staff the statistical department of the Ministry of Labor to be able to do their function and their work.
Right.
So that the Ministry of Home Affairs can make a decision based on facts.
That's correct.
That when they say we are not going to allow mechanics to come in,
That's correct.
that we have adequately resourced amount of Guyanese mechanic. They know what they're talking about. They can talk about it nationally, and they can extrapolate and say in every region, this is what we have. You follow me, the point?
Yes,
So we
I
have
hear
to
you.
have
I
the
think
data.
you've answered the question, dear Minister. Thank you very much. And I think I feel good because when it comes to our people, that's ultimately the end of the day. Good afternoon, sir. Is the labor law does the labor law prevent the security service from paying the workers double pay on Saturdays and holidays?
No, the law is clear. The law is clear that any person who works more than 8 hours in a day, after 8 hours, they must be paid 1.5 times of what they're paid per hour. Any person who work Sundays and holidays, they must be paid double time of whatever they're being paid per hour. There is this conversation where some people are trying to bring into the conversation overtime is calculated after 40 hours a week. The law don't speak to weekly. The law speaks to day. Because a man might work 3 days. He hasn't worked 40 hours. But he worked 3 12-hour shifts, of which he's entitled to 12 hours overtime.
So a lot of people use that backdoor to get out of it.
Yes, that is this.
And that's illegal.
Yes, it is illegal. The law is clear that overtime is calculated per day after 8 hours.
I didn't know that. I thought you have to do the weekly.
No.
Okay.
Because let us say, for intents and purposes, a man is a temporary worker that they only give him 3 days a week work. He would never reach 40 hours.
Now you get something there. You hear it. You heard it from the horse's mouth there. Very quickly as we come down, I wish we could continue with this conversation for a very long time. There's so many things that you learn. And Mr. Minister, how many hours do you have to work to be entitled to meal allowance? And can the people write to you to lodge a complaint when this happens, or I think when it does not happen, we would be victimized if the employers find out if we go in person? Thanks for your reply.
Well, the point is, I receive letters by the dozens every day.
Right.
That I treat with. So I would say to the person to ensure they're protected, that I am open. My office is at Brickdam, and you can always write me, and we can investigate the specific matter.
Thank you very much. Do we have a caller online? Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, I was just at the authorities accelerate the Venezuelans, the Cubans, and the Brazilians, etc. And how, as soon as the authorities see a Haitian, they jump on them like if the Haitians is a kind of threat. I would like somebody in authority to explain that.
I didn't really get it. Did you get that? Your phone, it seems to be given a little issue. I'm not sure. Do you have it on speaker?
No. Yes.
No, you can't put your phone on speaker. Speak normally because we get in a kind of it's distorted, muffled almost.
You hear me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Very good.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We hearing you. Just go ahead and talk. Yes, go ahead, James. Go ahead.
The Cubans and sometimes the Brazilians and others are allowed to leave Guyana. And as soon as the authorities see an Asian, the Haitians become like a threat to them. I would like somebody to explain that.
I would explain that for you,
Thank
and
you.
thank you very much for that, James. I don't want to put him in this thing because I didn't think he got anything to do with him. We started an investigation here from Kaieteur News a couple months, I think it's last year or so. We did receive a complaint that there was a large number of persons coming through the airport and there seems to be some kind of racket. When we went down there, we saw for a couple consecutive days large groups of people. Any case, when the people saw that we were up there, because obviously somebody would tell them Gildarie and somebody else is there, you got to see the madness with the minibus that was bringing these people down to Georgetown, dodging in and out of traffic, making all attempts to escape. At the end of the day, when we went till up to Latam and Brazil to investigate this case, we were able to conclude that Guyana was being used as a transshipment point, maybe even a case of trafficking. We don't know, but the government, the authorities just recently detained a couple of children because they believe there could have been cases of child trafficking. End of the day, Guyana was being used the airport, one big racket, people being paid off and everything to use Guyana as a transshipment. It has nothing to do with Haitians. It has to do with the security of the company. You could have anybody coming into the country. But what is it that you want? To be used as a transshipment? Is it a business that we run in? Then what is the country getting out of it? What is the policy with regards to that? There's so many things, but I can tell you as far as we're concerned, it wasn't an issue of that. I think as soon as we reopen the airport back, commercial flights start coming again. So you have an issue there. It has to do with security. It has to do with protecting your people. I mean, we could go on and on about
Well,
these
let me say quickly, Leonard, two things. One, if you recall, the former minister of citizenship.
Yeah, that was Vincent Felix.
Felix making
Yes.
this bold statement that the Asians that are coming here, they're not staying here. They are on the onward journey to Brazil.
That flabbergasted me.
I mean, that is creating diplomatic confusion with a sister nation to say that we are willingly allowing people we know who will end up in your country to utilize your resources. We are willingly and allowing them by the thousands to be transshipped through this country. And he said that as bold as ever. Second, and importantly, for people who have all the sympathies, it has nothing to do with race. I give you one example. How do you explain a woman who is 26 years old? She has three children with her, Leonard. One is 20, one is 18, and one is 16. And they're listed as our three children. You follow what I just said?
Yeah.
She's 26 years old. And she has three accompanying children.
She started early.
One is 18, one is 16, and one is 20. That informs you as to what is happening there. So this issue can create diplomatic issues that are unnecessary with sister countries. And the point you raise, two questions when the American ambassador met me. I told her about all my programs and plans. Two questions she asked. One, about trafficking in persons, and the other, the issue of child labor. What the ministry is doing and will do to deal with it.
But
So-
if you don't know what that means, it simply means that we could receive sanctions
That's the point.
on the long term if
Right.
we don't have measures in place or show, because there is the American prepare reports for the State Departments and so on, and these reports would say very clearly they rate you they put you in tier 1, tier 2, and all kinds of things. And if you happen to fall in a bad way, it could happen that you could get sanctions or something. They could stop funding in a particular area. A very, very important.
And the other
issue.
important thing quickly is this. Leonard, you cannot, as a citizen of Guyana, land on Barbados shores without a return ticket. People talk CARICOM. There isn't any CARICOM country you could land with your passport. And you have a ticket that is a one-way ticket.
Well, I would speak to that minister. I'm no politician. What I could tell you, I'm a Guyanese, and first and foremost, and I could tell you, I want to see for this country here strict laws, strict regulations. and I don't want nobody to disrespect us. What I saw there with that, with the Haitian situation, I make no apologies. I did see some ministers, some former ministers, talk about this issue as if you're going after a certain race. I'm baffled by that, because this has to do. The newspaper received report that here you have a whole bunch of people. Where are they going? Because there was the issue of whether they were using them to issue them passports so they could vote and so on. We want to investigate. We have to investigate it. We're obligated to investigate it, as a good newspaper do. So from there is what you're seeing. But nobody in the right mind, the minister's right, no country would allow the borders to be used as a transshipment point. There's so many repercussions from that. The minister didn't tell you what the U.S. ambassador was asking for. But we have unfortunately come down to that time when we must say goodbye. And of course, it would be remiss of us not to ask the minister to maybe make a closing statement here as to some reassurance maybe. What I would be interested in as a Guyanese, Mr. Minister, is our reassurances to maybe make our country's laws, when it comes to labor laws and otherwise, maybe comparable to what's happening in more developed country. And maybe if there's a timeline that you could give us to. I know that you're thinking that maybe in the next 2 years I would like to see this country in a particular place.
No, Leonard, quickly, let me say this, is that every engagement I have had with expatriate companies and even private companies, there are two things I say to them. The labor ministry that I am re-establishing will not tolerate two things. One, if you don't pay for equal job. We can't have a cook on one of these FPSOs, that's what they call them.
Yeah.
Cooking a Guyanese, cutting up the same boar and okra, clapping the same roti, and they're paid 5 or 10 times less than a Trinidadian. We can't have that, and I've made that known to the oil company. I said to ExxonMobil, let me say this to you. You have an obligation to ensure your subcontractors follow the law. Because when we talk about oil and gas in this country, it's one company named Guyanese to talk about. ExxonMobil. So you have an obligation and a responsibility. And as I speak to them, I say the same thing. Importantly, I'm told that some of them are offering contracts that suggest that workers cannot join unions or form unions. That is breaking the law. And I've said that to them. And so those things I will continue to speak to. And as I've said earlier, we are reviewing our labor laws and regulations, seeking to strengthen them, seeking to amend what is outdated. And I have said to you, if the Attorney General can say to me, and he can advise me to say that, listen, perhaps the thought you have where you can go back to the court and talk about contempt by an employer for them to be confined, I will happily do it. Mm-hmm. I have no reservations. I have no apologies. Because at the end of the day, like you have mentioned, it is all of us must do everything possible to ensure we protect the people of this country, protect the workers of this country. And I have said to the mining companies I have visited, I have one mandate. You have yours, I have mine. Yours is to protect your company and they look good on the stock market. That is not my mandate. My mandate is to protect the 600 people who are Guyanese that you have working here.
That's fair.
That is my mandate. And I will resolutely seek to execute my mandate and use all channels and avenues to do it as I continue on this journey.
I want to thank you very much, dear Mr. Minister, and no other than Joseph Hamilton, the Minister of Labour, would have been kind enough to take time off from his busy schedule here to let us talk. You know, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of things, the protection of our people. That's something very dear to me. And listening to the minister the last couple of minutes, it looks as if we have a minister, no-nonsense minister there, who is going to pull out the stops to do it. And you could rest assured, Minister, that we will hold your feet to the fire. And I know that you are always challenged. I've had discussions with you before, and I know that you've spoken very passionately about unions and other things like that. But as we go forward, we are willing to engage you from time to time. You would have seen the engagements from the people as well, and they want to talk about these things, about labor issues, about NIS, about things that they see happening, about job security and so on. And so we are going to continue to talk to the minister and his staffers on that, and feel free whenever you people want to come talk. We have the programs here. So thank you very much. That has been your edition of the Wake Up Guyana show. If you missed it, you could get us back on Facebook, Kaieteur Radio on Facebook, or Kaieteur Radio live stream on YouTube. We would have been coming to you live from our studio here in Saffron Street, Charleston, on 99.1 in Esquivel, and Demerara, 99.5 in Berbice. This has been your edition of the Wake Up Guyana show with your host Leonard Gildarie, with our very special guest, Minister of Labour, Joseph Hamilton. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Leonard, for having me.
Jai, is what you doing in here, boy? Like your wife got you on it.
She sent me to buy diapers and didn't tell me which one. No, I can't get on to she.
Well, we just use this sleepy sensitive.
Me know about the one by Randy. The woman heading good. Next thing you know, I carry the wrong thing home and get put out.
You can't go wrong with this. Look, check it out. It got a cutout for the newborn navel string and it don't leak. Plus, watch this. It water woven and it dermatologically tested.
What? What do you mean?
Me never know, but my wife said it better for the baby's skin. Plus, this pack enough in it and it affordable.
You had me at dermatologically, you know. Anyway, pass it.
Sleepy, for mommies who look for the best.